Well, let's look at this with Tal Heinrich, who speaks for the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Welcome to DW. Now, Mr. Netanyahu has said repeatedly that he opposes civilian settlements in Gaza. Why hasn't he been stronger in his repudiation of these calls from ultra-nationalist ministers in his own government?
Well, Phil, I think the Prime Minister has made it very, very clear that the only thing that matters is the strides that the war cabinet is agreeing to promote, and the goals that we set for this war, the voices that you played in that report before, most certainly do not represent the war cabinet, do not represent the unity government that we have in place right now, and they do not represent any kind of consensus within the Israeli society. And your reporter stated it well. This is not the tone that the government is setting. We said it very clearly that we believe that the future of the Palestinians of Gaza is in Gaza. And you know what the real absurd is? That many Palestinians, rather, in Gaza do not believe that their future is in Gaza. They believe that their future is within Israel's territory. When they chant from the river to the sea, when Hamas terrorists write it on their charter, and when they act on it.
You say that there is no consensus within the government. That is clear. 12 members of the cabinet attended that meeting on Sunday. The Minister for Tourism and the Communications Minister attended. The Minister for Tourism even spoke at this meeting. There were Likud cabinet members at this meeting, members of Mr. Netanyahu's own party. People will look at this and ask themselves, is Mr. Netanyahu refusing to condemn these calls and these members of government because he is scared of his coalition falling apart?
Well, the Prime Minister is not. None of us in Israel, honestly, are dealing with politics right now. And you know why? Because when Hamas terrorists targeted us on October 7th, they didn't care who voted for who. They didn't care if someone was for judicial reform,
Forgive me for interrupting, because we have talked about the October 7th attacks previously. I'd like to confine us to this issue of these calls for settlement of Gaza. Mr. Netanyahu has not condemned this meeting. Is that because he is scared of his coalition falling apart?
Well, the Prime Minister made very clear that this is not his private position and not the position of the government. And I'll tell you more than that. You see, I'm Israeli. I'm speaking to you from New York right now. In my country, we don't have a constitution, but we are committed to the First Amendment of free speech. So there is free speech in Israel. Citizens and people in politics are allowed to say what they think, but it doesn't give their words any political any policy credence, rather. So the Prime Minister has made it very clear that this is not something that he sees for the way forward with our neighbors.
The Prime Minister made it clear before this meeting took place. Let's address, I'd ask you to address, the question raised by your own National Security Minister in that report. He said, if we don't want to see another October 7th, we need to return home, meaning Gaza, and control the territory. Is Itamar Ben-Gvir's position one that you endorse?
Well, I do not speak for this minister. I speak for the Israeli Prime Minister's office, and I can tell you, I can explain to you the principle that the Prime Minister stated in his press conference when he was asked about Israel's security presence in the Gaza Strip down the road. You see, once we eliminate Hamas, which is one of the goals of our operation right now, of the war that we didn't start and we didn't want, we said that we don't want to see a resurgence of terrorism. Therefore, we say that Gaza must be demilitarized. And in the near future, to guarantee Israel's security and that Gaza will be demilitarized, Israel will have to maintain some security presence.
Right. So just to be clear, when Itamar Ben-Gvir says we need to return home, meaning Israel and settlers need to return to Gaza, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, he is wrong.
This is not the position of the prime minister, but I
Fine.
can refer
Okay.
to the
That's clear.
beginning
Let's
of the
move on.
soundbite by the way that
Time
you
is
said.
against
Yeah.
us.
Okay.
When
right.
Mr. Ben-Gvir calls for the voluntary emigration of Palestinians, isn't Israel already effectively forcing the voluntary emigration of Palestinians by reducing the territory to an uninhabitable rubble?
Well, the population that is displaced within the Gaza Strip right now, of course, this is because of Hamas's own doing, the rulers of the Gaza Strip. We didn't want this. Well, we called on them to evacuate from the north to the south and from various zones.
All of this is clear, and we thank you for repeating that. But what we know is the rubble, the devastation has been caused by Israeli bombs. So I wonder, is Mr. Netanyahu effectively trying to is Mr. Netanyahu effectively trying to have it both ways? Is he trying to say, on the one hand, their position is not one that we endorse, while effectively endorsing it? A yes or a no is fine.
I don't think I understand exactly the point that you're trying to make here, but I will tell you that this is a temporary displacement of the Palestinians within the Gaza Strip for their own safety. We don't want them to get caught in the crossfire. So obviously, it is not safe for them to return to the north right now. We have fighting taking place. And more than that, I will tell you, we also have Israelis from the north and the south, more than 250,000 of them who have been internally displaced right now for security reasons. Israelis cannot return home as of now.
Final word then on any assurances that the Israeli government might be able to give to the people of Gaza about a post-war future, given what Israel has done to the territory and also given the fact that Israel does not yet have a formal post-war plan. I wonder at what stage you will have it and how much confidence you expect Gazans to have in it.
So when you say what Israel has done to the territory, what Israel has done was to withdraw in 2005, give the Palestinians the territory, and we even left them the greenhouses so they could, turn into the new Singapore. This is what our leaders back then, if you remember, had wished for. But instead, Hamas took power. You know the rest. They turned Gaza into the terror base that it is today.
You'll recall my question was
about
about the assurances that Israel can give Gazans. So please address that.
So our principle that, as the Prime Minister articulated it before October 7th and after October 7th, is that down the road, after Gaza is demilitarized and de-radicalized, the Palestinians should have all of the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers that could threaten Israel. And it's a very basic, natural principle, more so after October 7th.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Tal Heinrich, spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you, Phil.